Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 5 of the HRSC Trans Am World Tour. And they decided that they would go north of the border, as they say in America. This is the wonderful complex known as Canadian Tire Motorsport, Mosport, as we know it for brief. And what a race it's going to be through the hills and the sights and sounds of Canada. My name is Craig King, and Christian Deploy is joining us in the director's chair for this absolutely grandstand race for the day. It's been a very good season so far. We're coming to moving day in the championship. We've been to Road America, and we also had Suzuka, Bathurst and Adelaide, but we come up north to Mosport, and then in a couple of weeks we're down at Buenos Aires before heading off to Calami for the final round of the championship. And well, it is still all to play for, because everyone's got to try and make some time up out there and make some places, as I know a few drivers would love to make some places. But this is Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and there's a lot of elevation changes through turn 1 down into Clayton Corner, always a dangerous part of the track. Quebec will be very interesting to make sure they don't hit the curves too much. And into the famous Moss Corner. It's almost like a hairpin. Carry a lot of speed into 5A, and then come around at 5B to go flat out 5C and up the Mario Andretti straightaway, which is your key overtaking point. The S's will be treacherous. They always are around here for 10 corners and just under 4 kilometers of action out there today. And of course, as the drivers head on, stands to the standings with Michael Gade just 1 point ahead of Kasper Stoltz. And then it's Jonik Simonik in P3. Ciro Wyatt will take 4th. Nils Sadowski will be in 5th, and Martin Bayer in 6th. Franek Gorecki will be in 7th, and Nicholas Kirsten in 8th. Darren Andrews 9th. Nicholas Hilbrand will round out the top 10. As you can see, top 3 still anybody's guess. But for the teams, well, you can kind of guess at the leaders are 1 and 2. They must be leading the championship by quite a lot. And yes, Blue Thunder Race Team are 206 points ahead of Team Traction in 2nd. The Cuda Crew right behind them in 3rd. And then Bulgaria Auto Sports in 4th. Brabham Motorsports will be in 5th. Lombardo Lupi will be in 6th. And then it's the HGS Rennsport car in 7th. Team Rally International in 8th. The Sprightly Tortoise, I'll get that right, in 9th. And the Joe Schmoes are 10th. I can't even do a schmoes for 10th. If it was something else, I could do something like that. But they are rounding out the top 10 for the day. Qualifying has been done for the sprint, and the sprint's going to be 20 minutes around here today in these Trans Ams. If you've never seen Trans Am racing before, you are in for a treat. These cars, just think of them as old school stock cars. A lot of power, not a lot of downforce as they'll try to work their way through these straights as we get ready for warm-up. And this is the quick warm-up section before the drivers get themselves ready for race 1 of the day. As you see, going up the Andretti straightaway, and there is Michael Gade leading the championship. It's a real good pace out there, and leading today. Should be on course to have another victory, but it's going to be close between his teammates, and I believe that's his teammate in front of him as well, as Michael will take pole position. And well, this might be the scene he'll be looking to try not to have for the rest of the race. That's his teammate in front of him doing a little bit of practice, but look at the curve. Look how much they attack the first corner here. All that runoff as well as they come down the hill. Look at it, it's blind as you come down Clayton Corner. And if you want to hold the inside line early, you definitely want to, because you just don't want to have any issues. If you go wide, you are pretty much heading out for the gravel. Quebec Corner, the inside there. Make sure you don't run over those curves as you come on down. It's a nice wideish track as well to make some moves, but it's such a quick lap time. You've got to be careful into turn 4. You go downhill now. Find the right braking point here for the Moss Corner, and then attack the first part. Use all that runoff so you can slide that car into the second part to get on the throttle, and then you can have a nice put your feet up, have a little bit of a break, and enjoy the Mario Andretti straightaway. As his teammates just saying, yeah, let's have some bit of fun here as they're going to go across the line. They probably go side by side, or they're going to go tandem racing there for a moment, but no. Casper Stoltz, who is correct, will be third for the race. Looking to try and get some more, well, trying to get some more points on his teammate. Maybe the sprint will give him that shot there, but I think it's safe to say that these two probably have wrapped up the team championship, but that's not going to stop them doing a lot out there. Look at the rear just swinging out there for turn one. And it just goes to show what you're going to see with a lot of this driving today. The rear will want to go a bit. It's all about control. Of course, back in the day, there used to be a bit of grass down there. Run into the back. Brake too late, you might run into the front of somebody. The back of somebody, sorry. So, yeah, just got to be careful on the braking for those corners. 35 seconds to go. They're all just getting themselves ready. Hoping that their races won't be hit too hard as some drivers go into the pit. Won't be needing to see the pit lane in any of these races today unless they got damaged. But just look at that on the throttle. So tough to get the car and get the power down. And sometimes you are going to have that rear just start wobbling, and that's why you don't really want to attack these curbs too much out here today. As LeBlanc will start 23rd for the day as the checkered flag for the warm-up is out. So that gives us a chance to get ourselves ready for what is actually quite a bumper grid out there today for the race. Mikel Gard will take pole with his teammate, not his teammate, sorry, Cedar Wire in Brabham Motorsport to be in second. Then it's his teammate Casper Stoltz in third. Reese Gardner will be in fourth. Then it's Darren Aarons, Cuda Crew, they're in fifth. Nils Stentoski will be in sixth. Nicholas Hilbrand will take seventh, and Martin Bayer in eighth. In nine, you've got Jake William there for Brundle Motorsport there, and Yannick Zimmernick will be in 10th, and Ross McGregor will be right adjacent to him in a diagonal way. Niels Kirsten in third, Nicholas Kirsten in 13th, Oliver Day in 14th, Tom D 15th, and Austin Birchfield will be 16th as the queues keep on coming here as Chris Gordon will take 17th and Nate Shiro 18th. Then it's Yuri Schmidt 19th and Simon Lapie in 20th. And we're still there after the top 20 is Reg Lamont will be 21st. Martin Jaspers will take 22nd. Then it's Nikolai Bavek in 23rd. Zugaro Seglener will be in 24th. And then it's Chris Okuda in 25th. Jay Walsh will take 26th. David Dejan will take 27th. And Corey Adders will be 28th for the dinosaurs. Because the dinosaurs are alive in our hearts or in the real world. They are still alive. Drivers getting ready for a formation lap out there today. There is the wonderful hills around Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And some drivers still in the pits as they get themselves ready for this sprint race. In fact, I think that's 4 or 5 cars waiting to get in there, and they will do. One driver left. Looks like one of the traction drivers just getting themselves ready. Is that Ross? I think it is. Is that work out the last gap there, and it is Ross McGregor. So Ross will get himself in, and of course this isn't a grid. It is a grid start, but there will be a formation lap to start. And hello, just some drivers just getting themselves ready to go. There goes the horn. The green flag waits for the formation lap. Now head on down to the warm-up lap where the drivers get one last chance to just make sure everything is all set, make sure there are no issues, keep themselves hydrated as well because it is hot if you're in Europe and America right now. And they're going to have to battle the heat and everything that comes with it. in this race. So the drivers get themselves ready for Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. One of the oldest tracks in America. Broke ground in 1960 and the first race was 1961. It's a grade 2 track if you were wondering, and yeah, it does look like a grade 2 track for me. And that's not a knock at anything out there. It is one of the, I think it is, when you look at it in terms of American tracks in North America, one of the oldest continuous, never changed track out there. Well, they had a system, and when it was made in the 60s, they stuck with it. It did run the Mosport Can-Am in 1966 all the way to 1986 down here. If you want some names, Bruce McLaren, Denny Holm taking wins out here. Jackie Ickx decided he would take a Trans Am around here, would take a Lola around here. And of course, that's not really a Trans Am car, but it's a Can-Am series. And you get the idea. It's a Lola Chevrolet. And then Jackie Ickx winning that, as I was saying. And in later times, Jacques Villeneuve in the 80s would win around here in one of the last runnings of the series. But as the drivers get themselves ready, will we see them go? And off they go straight away with green flag. And it's a clean run there. And you can see the teammates are working together straight off the bat. Maybe a little bit of side-by-side barging, and yes, there is. Let's try to make it move, and more tapping as well. Look at the top three, already ahead of one another of the whole field. They come on down. I still think Stoltz can't make that move. Finally gets it done on wire. And that was a long time coming, and that allows Gardner to go by onto the grass. Goes wire, and Cito holds that, and everybody would have been a little bit worried there. Have to go on the defense going up the hill to Moss Corner. And Reese Gardner trying to get it as well. Behind as well, you see that Nils Sandowski getting in with a little bit of a battle there with Hilbrand, Andrews and Simonek as well, having their little scrap as Gardner pushes on. A little bit side by side going up the hill, and that's the only one we've got there as McGregor continues on. It is Riley Wayans. You see that is Nicholas Kirsten with them looking for make some moves, and there's your first warning shot of what happens down the Mario Andretti straightaway. You've got to get this move done onto the curbing. There goes Kirsten. And probably running a bit too much of that curve out there, it does feel like. But everyone gets on by first time by. That allows Guide to take a commanding lead, and look at the two teammates at the front of the field. Stoltz and Gade already over a second ahead of Weir and Gardner. And speaking of Gardner, here is Reese with the CUDA crew. A lovely green and yellow with the two stripes. And Reese was saying, got to be careful with the pace of those cars at the front. Just so much straight end speed there. And I think that's really hurting everybody out there. Because already 2 seconds behind everybody in this sprint race. And sprint races are usually the races that you look to try and take advantage and try and get the jump on drivers. And this is where you usually get your most carnage with sprint races out there. But not a lot happening at this moment. Reese trying to extend the gap. Probably using Weir's slipstream to his advantage. Look at the lead, it's just already gone. Now, is that a move there? It was almost looked like that Andrews was looking for a move on to Hilbrand. Could not get it by. Stoltz and Gate continue on. Hilbrand just in a caught between a rock and a hard place right now with some yellows at the back of the field. And almost look at the slide in front of Nicholas. And that was Niels trying to have a little bit of a, sorry, turned in a bit too late moment there. Got the car under control. What a great idea it was to put a camera on the rear camera right here, but that's Chrysler for you. Darren Aarons for the CUDA crew trying to look for where he can, because drivers need to start attacking. Need to start thinking, well, the leaders are gone and we've got another 11, 12 laps of this to go. I'd like to get some action. I'd like to get some action, they're probably saying to themselves. I want to try and make a move, but if you can't get the run out of the Moss corner, that's the problem. Same there with Yannick Simonik. Unable to pick up the moves that he needs. But even they are now starting to almost gap those cars behind. That is Bayer and William and GP Laps. With the lovely retro livery, or retro modded modern day livery in a retro style. You get what I'm trying to say. Is Jake trying to look to fight some moves and look at the slide, but he had a slide of his own there. He had a chance to really look for a move on by there, and look, you see he put his nose in to try and find that move. Nothing happening. What about LeBlanc? And we saw him earlier as a lot of cars, oh, apologies, a lot of cars looking for moves, and LeBlanc's going to get overtaken here from, it looks like Shiro. Shiro indeed does make it. They'll come over the hill. Down still side by side with LeBlanc, and there you go. That's what happens if you turn in too late there for Clayton Corner. Start to go backwards. Still fighting there, just behind. And that Lepete on the outside, still looking around the outside, having to defend around the outside. Should allow some hopeful defending into turn 4. Does indeed, but almost too much on the curb there from Shiro. But that's allowed him to make this move on LeBlanc. LeBlanc with a lot of issue there. And even more drivers having issues. That is Turgo. A little bit too much on the curb, it feels like. They're probably carrying too much speed as Nate Zero. Now got that move on LeBlanc. And LeBlanc having to go on the defense again, because there's more right behind him. And there's Lapie. There's 10 laps to go in this sprint race, and Lapie would love to find a way by, having their own problems out there. Nothing happening at the front of the field. Ain't that wire managing to gap Reese Gardner a little bit out there. So nice strong field of Trans Ams out there for this first race. Let's have a quick replay of what we have seen right here. This is Jay Walsh coming on by, up and over the hill, and trying to do the, probably trying to get that line in, and everybody bunches up there a little bit. Has to try and get that car under control. That's what we saw with one of those cars having a spin. It actually started a little bit earlier in the process. So we go back to this, I'd say lead group, because the lead two on their own. Wyatt on their own as well. So Reese Gardner leading a pack here of, well, 5 cars, one could argue. Santolsky, Hilbrand, Andrews, and Simonik all close there. And of course, Jake Williams, trying to catch up as well. And might do so, because this is a really tough route. Here comes Simonik. Real good run here. Oh, he had a chance. Oh, I wonder. Could have made that chance, but turn 1 is so tight. And I say that at the front, though. There goes Reese. Not Reese, sorry. That is Hilbrand on Sandalski. That could have been interesting. I was just saying how one driver didn't want to look for a move into turn 1. Then we just see another driver making a move into turn 1 as Yannick Simonik will make that move, but a bit of a slide on the exit there of 3. We'll just open the door a little bit here. And will we see a move here by Andrews? Cuda crew would love it. And late braking again. It's tough to late brake into Moss. Just with that elevation change, the speeds. Got to be careful not to carry too much speed out there. Darren Andrews, sorry, now. Push on and look to see if he gets the run here. Cuda crew would love another overtake. Love to go up there. So currently Reese in P4 for the team. Jake with a look at the brakes there, having to be very careful in what he does. And so sooner or later, this could be pretty dangerous. I say dangerous. We just had a quick yellow, and well, I think it's at the back of the field as Darren continues to look on. It was Tom D, and there is Tom D taking the Joker lap around Mosport. Didn't even know Mosport had a Joker lap, but unfortunately running onto that grass, I wonder if there's been some issues elsewhere for him. The top two, well, not a lot happening with the top two, hitting their marks, hitting the strides. These Mustangs really comfortable out there. One would wonder what the gap's going to be, not who's the gap going to be as they continue on. Let's have a look at the replay with Tom D, though. Tom's got to come through the S's, a little bit of space to try and, well, kickstart. I wouldn't say kickstart his campaign because he's 1 point behind, but love to leapfrog in that championship with his teammate, because realistically, Wyatt continues to lose time. And one brasses. Reese Gardner having there. Here's Austin Birchfield, picture in picture. It looks like it's going to be the same corner at the S's, and I know this is high speed slowing down from, you know, and try and hold it. Is he going to give us, no, instead of giving the showcase hitting the curbs, decides he wants to go onto the grass and hit the tires in a different way. And please rejoin safely. Oh no, that's a great save by whoever just got the sidearm hit there, but that's why we always say rejoin safely. And on grass, it's very slippery on slick tires on grass, and there goes to show you why. So it's 6 laps to go. Casper Stoltz not looking to attack his teammate as of yet. He probably won't attack his teammate this race. You just never know. Meanwhile, Reese Gardner really done a good job here to catch up to Wyatt. And this could be a good late charge for the last spot of the podium with 6 laps to go. Meanwhile, Darren Andrews going side by side. One of the traction cars, I believe. That is Simonek out there. Gets that move done, almost going into the rear of both of those drivers. Even William is right there, wondering, what am I going to do? What have I got to do to get past? Well, to get past right here, you have to look for the opportunities. The corners are not opening up. It's tough to make overtakes on that starting section of the track if you don't get it done out of Clayton into Quebec. So then you have to rely on this straight here, and that's what Andrews was looking for. Andrews just could not get it. Same with Reese, would love to get a move instead of getting a move here. It would be a little bit suicide to go for a late break as 5 laps to go is the call. Say that, but Gregor just got absolutely caught out there from Kirsten with a great little move around the inside there, catching him out at the final corner, known as White's Corner. Well, having to make a move around there, yeah, I think you get the right to show off as Reg, not where you want to be. Another person, the S's again, really catching people out. I didn't mean it like that, but it's just catching people out here, taking all that speed and having to slow down for the S's in these Trans Ams really has caught drivers out here. And oh, Nicholas was very brave on the grass there. realistically, you've got to give this to Nicholas, because for Hilbrand to really catch up here, he could play spoiler. He could get the podium spot. We thought it between Gardner and Wire. No, I think Nicholas Hilbrand here got a shot as Reese is going to pull to the outside line. Maybe we'll get it, but the outside for the first part of the S's will turn into the inside. So turn 8 comes in as a right-hander. Yeah, and Gardner having to try and save a drift and more as he goes over the grass. Had he still got this locked down? A very rare overtake into turn 9 there from Nicholas Hilbrand. You don't usually see an overtake there unless you're talking multi-class. So Reese has got to do it all again. And then some. As more drivers go on through. Jake William still struggling. And, well, we say struggling. Some of these drivers are going to use this sprint race as a little bit of sighting laps, as they say, to see if they're able to make some moves or make some progress when it comes to the feature race. Look at the brakes there as well from Darren Andrews. Got to be careful. Careful. He will be. And even more. Simonek there really starting to throw his Pontiac around. Doing the best he can at straight line speed. Very important in the Trans Ams. Each car with their own little power, and that's why you're seeing the Mustangs. They are quick in a straight line, as you would expect from an old Trans Am, an old little hot rod, they would used to say. So is Darren Andrews now looking around. Again, no. You can look for a move around the outside of turn 8 there. It's achievable in quotation marks, because you have to be careful where you go, because it sets you up for the inside of 9. Then, of course, you'll be on the outside of 10. Another yellow happening there in the field. Jay Walsh, unfortunately, not having the best of time as we're 3 to go in the race. Okay, Cito, what have you got left? You're going to have to try and defend off Nicholas Hilbrand. Not Reese this time. What have you got in that tank? Apart from fuel, because they're Trans Ams, they need fuel. What has he got left in the tank? Jespers was the yellow flag as they come over the hill, known as Moss. Oh, a little chance there to have a small tap there from Hilbrand. That just shows that Nicholas really does have the aggression. But look at this on the straights. This Brabham Motorsports car that Cedar Wire is driving just has the advantage on the straights here. Nothing that Nicholas can do. We'll have to look to the outside, and that Dodge just can't get it under control. Real good defending in the corners is not working right for Wire on the straights. Man, this car's got some pace on the straights, but there'll be 2 laps to go. And Stoltz has started to lose his teammate a little bit as these 4 continue on. Down the hill for the penultimate time. And Hilbrand still pushing hard. Would love some points. Would love to get back on the podium. Be a bit of a shock if he got the podium with the way Wire's been driving. Never say never. And then you got this other group right here. Darren Andrews holding off William. And then Simonek in front of him trying to attack. And where do you attack around here? Always on the straights, of course. That's the answer. So if he looks for a move onto the straights, nothing to boot yet. They will be almost coming to the end of the sprint race. And then we'll get an idea of what drivers are looking for pace-wise. Hilbrand again just cannot get the pace down the Andretti straight away. to look for a move. You can see that he would love a move right now. But HRSC Rennsport's car just not having it. And then again, look how he has to be aggressive through 9 and 10 to really look for a move. But the white flag is there. And I do wonder if we'll see anything by the leaders. Already 8-9 seconds ahead. Now the name of the game is, can you stop any late shock by your teammates? All signs point to should be all right. Don't need to worry, especially if Stoltz is going to overdrive the corner a little bit and go a bit too wide. So that will be what they wrote for Wyatt. Have to defend the red and white of Hilbrand. And that Dodge looking really comfortable through some of these corners. Now it's going to be the run. I wonder if he's going to have anything here. Does Hilbrand have anything to deal with this car onto the straight? I don't think so. It's going to be tough to make a move. Kelgate and Casper Stoltz will come home in 1 and 2 for sure. It's all going to come down to these final spots. And can Nicholas Hilbrand look for a move anywhere? The answer is no. And he just can't. Here comes the leaders. Mikhail Gard, Casper Stoltz take the victories on 1 and 2. And here comes the sign onto the line. And nothing there for Nicholas Hilbrand. He tried and tried. Just couldn't get that move done. Kirsten will come home in 11th as more drivers go by. Ross McGregor right behind in 12th. Wines will be in that 13th. Sorry. Here's Chris Gordon. Team Rally. Not the best day in the office for the sprint race. Still got a top 15 out of it though. And some of the other cars will be coming by. Here comes Chris Okuda. I think Chris was in one of those early incidents we saw. One of the Joe Smos were in that incident. Has still got some battling at the back of the field as Jay Walsh would love to get a move here. I don't think so. Wide line there. It's not an on purpose defending line there, but going a bit wide through the start of the S's does limit anywhere that Walsh can go. And you'll have to be content with 25th on the day. All the runners and riders are in. We'll be able to quickly run down on that sprint field out there today. So as the drivers go by, Mikhail Gard will be first and Casper Stoltz will take second. Cedar Wyatt third and Nicholas Hilbrand will be fourth. Reese Gardner fifth and Nils Stentolsky sixth. Yannick Simonik seventh. Darren Andrews eighth. Then it's Jake William in ninth. Martin Bayer, didn't talk a lot about Martin. He rounds out your top 10. And we look elsewhere as well. Nicholas Kirsten 11th. Ross McGregor will be 12th. Riley Wyans will take 13th and Oliver Day in 14th. Then it's Chris Gordon 15th. Nate Shiro 16th. Yuri Smith in 17th and Simon Lepee in 18th. Nikolai Babanek will take 19th and Austin Birchfield will be round out your top 20. And just one more lane left as Chris Okuda takes 21st. Reg LeBlanc will be 22nd. Togo Zeiner will be 23rd. And it's Martin Jaspers 24th. Jay Walsh 25th. David Jean 26th. Corey Allers 27th. Tom D did not finish. Had an early retirement there. Comes home in 28th place. Well, after a sprint race, we have the feature coming up. It will be a 1-lap shootout for qualifying and then 40 minutes of the feature. And double the length means double the voices. So I can welcome into the booth Stephen Koenig, who has joined us for the feature race. And Stephen, Trans Ams around Mosport always sounds like a very fun combination, especially around such a tight old school racetrack.
It's really going to be one to keep an eye out for, because the drivers are going to have to really work on keeping momentum at the same time, trying to battle out against one another, trying to get the gearing right. And this is where heel and toe comes out. It's absolutely wonderful to be here. And Craig, I've got to say, I'm really looking forward to it. Mosport is a difficult circuit to get round with some of the best cars out there. But when we go back a couple of eras to what I personally say, some of the best racing, well, makes it a little bit more fun with the Trans Ams.
Yeah, I tell you what, ever since I discovered Mosport, I've been such a fan of this track, just because of that old school feeling, the fact that you got that long, look at the Mario Andretti straightaway there, just because, straight away, we'll say that right, don't want to insult Mr. Andretti. Such an important place, and with these Trans Ams, if you've got the likes of a powerful corner like the Mustang, a powerful car, sorry, like the Mustang, you're able to just push hard, use that power to your advantage. But the sprint race, a lot of incidents at the S's. That surprised me, because that's not a corner I was circling as a danger point here. I was looking at Moss Corner. I think there were double the incidents at the S's than at Moss Corner, and I think it just came to drivers, like you were saying, Stephen, heel toe, slow the car down. It's not that easy.
Well, the other thing you got to remember with anything like the Mustang, the Plymouth, any of the older generation of cars, you have got a serious amount of body roll that you're going to have to contend with. The S's is fast and flowing. Yes, it looks simple on paper, but then you add nearly 2 tons of weight getting pushed into there. You haven't got coilover suspension that you're having to deal with here. You got leaf springs. You're trying to move up through the order with that. Added to the fact of plenty of power underneath your right foot, the tail will kick out underneath you, and then you have to hit the brake into White's corner as well. That is a very, very tight right-hander that you're going to have to try slow the car down, get yourself all organized, and power your way through. I mean, there is so many little factors on the circuit that you add undulation, you add a change in camber, and you make things a little bit more difficult. And I've got to say, here at the HRSC, the drivers going and keeping true to what it was of past era. It's keeping that historical factor. It's not adding in any of the fun stuff we get to use in our modern day machinery, but at the same time, you're going to have to try and contend with all the problems that came with it as well.
And not to mention, it doesn't have this version of Mosport we're racing today doesn't have that modern day feel to it. When I say that, a lot of runoff area for these cars is this really brings you back to the old days where you have to just work it. We've seen drivers kissing the curbs a bit too much here today, losing control of the car. I've never seen a Trans Am go 2 wheels and then nose up and flip over, but I can say I've seen it now. A very interesting moment out there, I will say. But yeah, 10 corners, 3.9. It's 3.957 kilometers or 2.458 miles, but we are in Canada, so I think we'll be saying kilometers out there today. I know some Americans will be like, it's miles. Well, miles is the name of Tails, and then we are not in Sonic Land today. It's going to be interesting to go on.
Some of the drivers are going to go fast as Sonic at this stage of the game, looking at our previous race. I want to also put in another factor, especially with the sim as well. You do get mechanical failures added onto it. So if you get your rev range wrong, if you shift too early and you put it straight into the red, you can also land up damaging the engine, damaging the gearbox, and wiping yourself out the race.
But the gamblers told me that put it all on red and red's good. But no, definitely it's not where you want to be, especially on hot track and temperatures. And remember, I talked about it before, if a lot of Europeans and Americans dealing with heat waves, so tackling those climate conditions going to be really tough. Reese Gardner is just there right now. It's winter in Australia. He's probably loving having a cool little place to have some racing right now. A little bit jealous of him in my 26 Celsius little room right now with a fan going off. Not where I want to be, and these drivers having to battle with those conditions. As this is the qualifying, the one-shot qualifying here for the feature race, as Corey Adders for the Dinosaurs. And it's not Dinosaurs Live, it's Dinosaurs Live. I don't know if you're a believer of dinosaurs, Stephen, but I'll take it.
Well, it depends on the size. If it's smaller than me, I'm happy. If it's taller than me, well, then gravity has got to take effect here. I'm bound by gravity. It's turned it up a little bit high. I'm not short. It's just because the gravity is too high. But Corey in for a solid run. But you can also take a look at these lines. He is letting the weight, the momentum, carry the car through. It's fringe to fringe on the circuit, trying to slide the car, letting the weight and momentum carry through the corners. He's not worrying about trying to hard chuck it in. He's trying to just let the car go and coast through the corners, carry that momentum through, especially for a one-shot qualifying. You want to make everything work. Right up to 7,000 RPM before he changes, throws it in, gentle on the steering though, just to allow it all to come back to him. But also, got to be careful, too far out, and it becomes extremely slick once you get to the grass and got to the dirt.
Yeah, you want to be keeping into the inside as much as you can without having too much on that outside. Through Clayton he goes, and now Quebec trying to fight that elevation change because it goes up and then comes down like a roller coaster as he comes around Quebec corner. As now Corey goes down. And look at the sliding, having to control the car, going through turn 4 to get on the brakes up here into Moss Corner. My favorite part of the track. You gotta attack that first part so much. Got a little bit of runoff there. And this is where he can now start to have a bit of a rest. Well, I say have a bit of a rest. Have to make sure he shifts the gears correctly. Otherwise, he'll be in a lot of trouble. Down the Mario Andretti straightaway he will go. And then what line will he take? We saw before, love to take that middle line. And here he goes, braking hard, using the weight transfer like Stephen was saying to try and go in. Don't worry about that first apex. Attack the second one right here. That's what you need into turn 8. Set yourself up for 9. Not using all that curve because you don't want to upset the balance. And now White's corner right at the end of the lap. Gets a really nice run. Real good drive there by Corey to get across the line. And records a nice little time out there. But these are the drivers we're looking for. This was your winner of the sprint race, Mikkel Gard.
Mikkel out there in the Mustang as we saw the Plymouth. Good to see a great variety going into the Trans Ams, and this is what I love to go and take a look at. Everyone has their personal favorites. I know for my missus, it is the Mustang through and through, but the Plymouth always has just that aggressive look to it to try and fight out. Now, Casper out on a solid drive as he tries to get a little bit more momentum. He lies in 23rd at the moment, wants to try and get himself into the top 10, but it's going to be a tough one to do. Sliding it out, really getting the rear kicked out. Setup is telling me that he's got the car a lot more for an oversteer onto corner entry and then getting onto the power as hard as possible to just try and get the rear to steer the front as he moves up in second place.
Yeah, interesting times as well. I see Nils Stentalski in third, Reese Gardner currently in 5th. Some real good times. I think we've still got 3 more drivers left to do, and this is one of them. Cedar Wire will come across the line, almost sliding that rear out. It will only be P4 for the man that finished 3rd in the first race. Just one more as Singular comes around, and that car is going to look for a competitive time and gets it done into 24th place. That's a surprise from why they're not able to get back up there. Remember, he finished the race P3. And Nils wasn't even near that. It was Nicholas Hilbrand who finished in 4th place as we get ready for the times and the grids. Start to see for 40 minutes of racing around here for our feature. Mikkel Gard and Kasper Stoltz 1 and 2, and Nils Stentalski will be 3rd, and Cedar Wire will take 4th place. And then that leads to the next row of Reese Gardner, Yannick Simonik, Nicholas Hilbrand, and Darren Andrews in 8th place. And as we go down the order, 26 cars to get through. Martin Beyer will be 9th and Nicholas Kirsten 10th. Riley Wyans will be in 11th and Austin Birchfield will take 12th. Our next 4 drivers: Oliver Day in the unlucky 13th, Nate Shiro 14th, Chris Gordon will be in 15th, and Jake William, not the best qualifying time after a really good first race, will be in 16th. Jay Walsh, 17th, and Simon Lapie, 18th. Martin Jaspers, 19th, and Reg LeBlanc, as we hit outside the top 20. It will be Chris Akuda, 21st, Ross McGregor, 22nd, Nikolai Bavek will be 23rd, Hugo Sengliger will be 24th. Running out then will be Corey Addison, 25th, David Dizan, 26th, Yuri Smith will be 27th at the end of this. Really big field out there today, Stephen, which I think a lot of drivers happy to see. A lot of competition out there for the drivers.
That's absolutely incredible, and good to see so many manufacturers being brought in. We've got the Chevrolet Camaro, my personal favorite. Well, it's the Pontiac out on the circuit at the moment. Apologies. Going and having a bit of fun there. That's Ross McGregor trying to throw the car around. We've got the Pontiac. We have got the Ford Mustang, but it's actually the Shelby Mustang, as you'll note, the snake on the nose. A 5-minute warm-up for the drivers just to get used to the cars, get used to the circuit, and to prepare themselves physically and mentally for an incredibly long race. This is going to be a tough one. Mosport is an absolute battle at the best of times. You've just gone and had a nice little race at the start, but now it's game time to really focus as Ross gets it very upset through Moss, and it gets a little bit out of shape, bringing it right up to 7,000 RPM before he changes gears, just trying to bring it back from the brink, but really trying to find the limit at this stage of the game, trying to push that little bit further and see what he can do. Now, in this warm-up time, I don't know about you, I prefer to take an easier approach just to get used to the car, used to the circuit, and familiarize myself with the drivers around at that stage of the game. Others might be sitting in the pits just waiting it out and just trying to get themselves organized, something to drink, and getting ready to rock and roll. But I've got to say, Craig, this is the moment where you start to get butterflies. This is where you start to think, right, what am I going to do, and how am I going to position myself for the start of the race? Because it's not going to be an easy one, as we've seen.
And you see, that's the whole reason I wouldn't do any warm-up. I'd be too nervous. I'd be too nervous out there right now. I'd be saying, right, I'm just going to have to behave, just be safe out there. I don't want to do any more practice. I just want to race. I'd be itching right now to get out there and get on track. I think that's what some of the drivers would just love to just do, those last things and go by as Andrews into the pit. McGregor, can he get his right this time? He did see a small move there, and that is one good thing, is if you had a practice and you made a mistake out there, is more drivers sliding around Moss Corner, at least you can then work on it in this time. And of course, that's the one that would love to do. Hell, you're not going to trip. No, oh, Riley. I was going to say, that's one way to do it. Just show off a little bit. The Pontiac there doing a drift. I didn't think a Pontiac was a drift machine.
Well, when you've got about 200 horsepower underneath your right foot, no ABS, no traction control, why not? It's going and having a bright yellow car means that everyone can see you, so why not put on a show? Flicks it in, puts on the power. He is absolutely loving it, but I do want to point out the car control needed to do that is insane, because it's not an easy thing to do. He's also fighting it, trying to bite back. You can see every so often it gets grip and he has to try and reel it back in, tries to get back on the power and fight it out once again. But having to do that while your competitors are around, it's never an easy thing. And I've got to say, I wouldn't like to be around that number 2 right now. I'd prefer to either clear right past or just slack off, maybe hang around in first gear at 4,000 RPM instead.
Maybe we can tell the crew here that run this that the next series needs to be a Trans Am drift competition. I think out there, as this has been very, very interesting to see some of the driving. And here's the more correct approach, as the purists would say, driving around the corner correctly. The fastest time through the apex, as I say that, car just goes around the outside of Moss Corner, and I haven't seen that a lot today, with drivers making mistakes out there, as Chris Gordon with this, they call themselves Team Rally International, and well, this just really gives me the old school vibe of the rally. The only thing missing from this car, if it was a rally car, Stephen, with a black hood to stop the sun reflecting on you. That's the only thing missing from this car right now.
I thought you were going to say a Lancia, because you got the same sort of colors coming into play. But Chris, having a ton of fun out there. But note how much that nose is dipping down under braking. That's incredibly soft suspension on the nose. Trying to run more of a 60-40 brake bias, get compression onto the nose, allow the rear to steer you out and get going. But it also tries to pivot the entire car on the front, and that's going to start hurting the tires over time. It's something you got to keep it well in mind during the course of the race. You don't want to go and flatten off those front tires. Otherwise, in the early stages, you're going to pick up some serious oversteer and will be needing to get into the pits to try and get them sorted out. Simon, also on a hard charge at the moment in the Shelby Mustang. Once again, that nose dives in as it gets quite soft on the front. He's trying to slowly feed the power on, not stamp on the power. Because at the moment with these cars, if you go and put your foot flat, it's going to kick out. It's going to land up in the dirt, and you're going to be looking at the pit wall. Not an easy time out there. So you want to try and just feed the power on, but that suspension, running it rather low as it can go, and hoping that he can maximize the grip.
Looking to maximize the grip and probably looking to maximize his chances for a decent result. Going to be the last man, last driver into the pits. You've had your fun. Come back in. It's tea time, or, well, it's not tea time. It's race time out there for these drivers, as in he goes for this grid. We saw the qualifying results, because they are the grid results. Is what, not the grid results, they are the grid out there today. They will get themselves ready. Similar format for what we saw with the sprint race. I'll do their quick formation lap around as we see the elevation changes here. You don't realize, well, on any racetrack, you go to a sim and you see elevation changes and you go, oh, that's quite a bit of elevation change. And you get there to the racetrack and you're like, that's a lot more elevation change than I'm used to. Was not expecting it like that. And Mosport is the same. You can't get an idea of how steep these hills are. And then when you realize you're climbing right back up. 40 minutes, as we were saying, around here today for the feature. Real good result left. And it'll be about 28 laps out there for these drivers for the feature race. And 28 laps is a lot of time, Stephen. It doesn't sound it for 40 minutes, but on such a small track, that can come and go quickly.
It's extremely busy, especially in these monstrous machines. The laps will fly by because you're concentrating on some hard impacts. You got to remember, this is also round 5 of the championship. There's 2 more rounds after this to try and battle out. And it comes down to who has got enough in the tank to really fight it out. You've done a race beforehand, but now it's time to get ready under green. As we hear the sirens, lights on, lights on. They will hook into gear and get the clutch ready and start rolling. Incredible run between our Trans Ams, and I've got to say, if we go back in the era to some of the best racing, some of the most featured races, doesn't matter where you are in the world, if you put a bunch of monstrous V8s on a circuit, you will instantly bring the crowd. And when you start talking about what's your favorite muscle car, everyone's going to lean in for a Chevrolet Camaro. They're going to lean in for a Mustang, a Pontiac. They will go to a Plymouth going and fighting out. I mean, these are the original Thunder series around the circuits. It's the original big bangers that brought us in. When you think of a loud car that really goes and shakes the foundations of your house, you're not thinking of a V10. You're not thinking of a V12. Well, you might be of a flat 12, but most certainly put a straight 8 or a V8, and that will wake up anyone in a heartbeat.
The last time that this track was used in Formula One, Jody Scheckter, 1977, won in a Wolf powered by a Ford engine. If you look the year before, James Hunt did it in a McLaren with a Ford engine. You look at it 2 years before that, Emerson Fittipaldi in a McLaren with a Ford engine. The year before that, Peter Revson in a McLaren with a Ford engine. Every time they came to Mosport Park, back when it was when it was official Grand Prix races and not unofficial in the F1 Championship, a Ford engine won around here. And that just goes to show the caliber of that engine. And can the Mustangs, won't be the same engine, but it's a Ford-powered engine. They are looking to see if we'll see a Mustang win the sprint and win the feature. And I wonder if we'll see that. Michael Gard will be leading them by for this start. And then when he goes on by, is there going to be a response from his teammate, or are we going to see somebody really look to upset the apple cart here? As they will start to go racing straight away. One car's already made a big jump out of nowhere. Who was that? Going for a jump straight away, but in they go. Single file down into turn one. Reese Gardner not having the best of starts there. I think that was Yannick Simonik right beside, battling as well as they go down the hill, and even more incidents there as Reese Gardner going a bit wider there. I think that was Nicholas Hilbrand getting involved there. Gardner going down the order, top five unchanged. More carnage as they're all trying to find their way through.
Everyone just trying to keep it all in check. Remember, the tires are absolutely frigid at the moment, so they're trying to generate some heat into it, but also trying to go and put the nerves to one side. You want to put your foot to the ground, but it's not going to help you out here as they barrel in through the double right-hander. This is always a tough corner to try and keep it all together. Reese Gardner feeling it at the moment as he's side by side with Wayne's right next to him. The two of them sharing each other's space and trying to get the upper hand. Neither able to really get the bit of momentum needed to get into the run. And at the moment, Reese Gardner just hoping that he can put his nose forward and try to get back into single file.
He's going himself back into single file. Riley Wyans unfortunately can't find his way through, and he's stuck in that line and finally gets into single file. Loses a bit of time, and they've lost a bit of time to the front of the field because look at those gaps straight away. Nicholas Sendalski would love to try and work his way back up there, but the gap's starting to grow a bit. Kirsten as well. Well, this is a great start here from Kirsten. We're probably not expecting to see himself into P10 right away. With Gardner in front of him, we are on the roof, or the rear of the roof of Riley Wyans' car. And look how much concentration he has to do as he comes down the hill.
A lot of lifting and coasting just to allow the car through, then feather the throttle on the way through. Riley, who was putting on a phenomenal drift display, now trying to keep a little bit of pressure on Kirsten ahead. But just not able to get into that top 10 as yet, but just biding the time at the moment. They've got a long time in this race to get it all sorted out, and the most thing you want to do is keep it all together as it's a bit of contact up ahead. Gardner getting a little bit of a nudge there against Andrews. Kirsten getting involved. Wyans tried to go and look up on the inside and had to get out of it, but that has now allowed Birchfield to climb into the back of him to see if he can get past. Nicholas Kirsten just managing to keep ahead, and it's a proper fight. Nicholas now hoping to get that little bit of a charge in towards 9th place, but it's going to have to be a nice gentle run at the moment. Lap 3 out of 29. Still plenty of time on the board.
Still plenty of time on the board. We don't want to be losing a lot of time right there. There's Jake Williams just in the bottom of the screen looking at the moves, and Chris Gordon going to be overtaken there from Ross McGregor. Not the conventional overtake you'll see into White's corner. In fact, it's tough to make a move into White's corner at all. So really good work there from McGregor. Gets it under control. Now Chris is on the back foot right there. As look at the train of cars right then. This is the thing with a one lap qualifying. Get the tires warmed up, and you have to then go for that one lap. And very tough to do a quick one lap like that. And one of the reasons why F1 decided to get rid of it. Who goes a little bit wide around there? Looks like it was. I could not see who that was. I thought it was Jake Williams for a moment there, but no, it's a little bit of a brighter car. Fred LeBlanc continues on. Nikolai Babanek was the driver that went by. Not going two wheels at the moment. It just feels like everyone's just finding their footing right now. There's more drifting up ahead. But yeah, they are just trying to find their footing right now.
Nicholas having to actually come out of the throttle, and that's going in, fouling up a little bit of time. Back up to the sharp end of the field, Casper Stoltz, who set the fastest lap of the race, keeping the pressure on Gotti at the moment, trying to see if he can get on by with the Shelby Mustang, the two Fords up ahead, leaving the Plymouths to fight out for third and fourth at the moment, trying everything they can. This is later generations of the Mustangs to what we usually know. Everyone's used to the Mustang Fastback, the 500 Fastback, but this is a later generation that came out and actually proved to be quite a monster around the circuit. Its balance worked out rather well, and with the touch of Shelby magic, has gone on to win lots and lots of championships across the world. Doesn't matter where you are. If you're in South Africa, well, you got to see a couple of our grand champions like Willie Hepburn getting behind the wheel of these machines and fight it out. But also, it's been worked on closer to a Ford GT40 than its previous counterpart. So they've made sure, as a Trans Am car, these are perfect. And with a bench seat in the back, well, you can take the family to watch at the drive-in.
I've just got that image of The Simpsons right now where they have a couch in the back during NASCAR running or something like that. That's what I'm experiencing. Wouldn't want to be in the back seat while you're going around Mosport. I would get thrown about a lot, and I hope there's seatbelts there, because that drop down the hill would be quite funny going down Clayton Corner. Casper still looking to see if he can make moves. Reese Gardner, meanwhile, looking to get some moves, and that is Andrews. He goes on by. And that's what I was meaning about a black hood there when you talk about the old rally cars, to try and stop the sun reflecting into your face. It does work. Reese doesn't need that. He's got his chrome Australian-inspired double stripe livery. And even though it's the morning time in Australia, or early morning in Australia, he's wide awake for this. Already up a couple places after not a good start, it has to be said. Now he's looking to push on, but look at that twitch there. Car was not comfortable coming out of turn one. And he had to just catch a small twitch there coming out as he hit the Clayton Corner.
Nicholas Hilbrand also feeling the same bit of pressure as that car starting to come out underneath him. Mark Mayer trying to also fight and keep the car in check. It's always now turning into a little bit of later, that hard push. You're getting to a point in the tires where it's becoming very spongy. The only way I can talk about it's like gummy. When you've had gum in your mouth for a long time, it's sticky, it will go, but it will then just start to slip out underneath you. So you're going through a very awkward transitional phase with these cars, as unfortunately we did have one of the cars going into the wall, and Jay Walsh unfortunately going and meeting the Onco barrier. And well, with these 2.5 ton cars, you would be pushing the Onco barrier into the crowd. The concrete, that'll kind of stop you dead.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to hit concrete in a vehicle like this. I've done that before on sim racing, and it's not very fun. And that's the last thing you want to do, especially, remember, older track here. So a lot of the old concrete and the old Armco barriers out there, and not a lot of these new safety systems they've got. It's tire barriers on top of that, as these two put out a 3-second lead to the rest of the field. And they're going to be happy enough to just keep on battling in that. But here's a battle that we didn't get to see at the end of last race. But Nils Stentalski, real good qualifying time. Now in front of Cedar Wire. Now Wire had a better car on the straights in the sprint race, but not good enough to really look for a move right now. I am surprised at that. Wire unable to get past Nils or even look for a move onto Nils right now. And when we come to the Amari Andretti straightaway right here, you'll probably see why. He just doesn't have that top-end speed. It's Wiley doing even more drifting out there.
Oh, Wiley just having a ton of fun at the moment. Reese Gardner now trying to see if he can move up through the order, as he's got Hilbrand just ahead of him, trying to close off that right-hander, but it's going to be Reese taking the dive. Who's the last of the late breakers? Watching for the whites in each other's eyes as they dive through. Reese looks for the inside. He's got it only for now, as Hilbrand dives in, has got the advantage through the left-hander. Now into the right. Reese doing everything he can to put the nose forward, but just not having enough momentum to really make it stick. Side by side, heading into turn one. Reese Gardner eventually winning the fight, but only just at the moment. Nicholas coming back at him.
Nicholas, oh, he had to get off the throttle there. He got a bit too wide. Reese gave him the room. Nicholas just going a bit too wide there out of turn 1 and just having to control that car. They've lost a bit of time to the cars in front. Bayer managed to get a little bit of time, but also that it's brought in Andrews into this battle. What a move from Reese. He knew that his qualifying wasn't good enough, having to now look for the advantage to try and go work up the field in a feature race. A lot of time to do that, get past Nicholas. And remember, Nicholas was up at the top there, battling for those podium spots like Reese. Not where they want to be right now. They would love to be around that P5 area. Well, got a second and a half to try and fight on Bayer. Then they're going to get past Jonas Simonek. This is the battle for the podium, though. Wire again. Can't make that work. Look at his 4th gear, 220 kilometers an hour, now 230. Looking to see if he could just get that top end speed. It's not enough. And look at this through the line. He's gone wide as nails. And I think this could be the overtake needed. Side by side through 8, and side by side through 9, into turn 10 at White. Thank you very much. See the wire. Retakes, well, not retakes, gets that P3.
I wouldn't count out Niels just as yet. He's still showing the nose forward, trying to see what he can do. And it's all about keeping that momentum right now. It's early stages of the race, and the more you can make your competitor push harder onto their tires, the more that it's going to drop off a cliff. These cars will pick up severe understeer. We saw in practice how wide the drivers were going, how hard they were pushing in the sprint race. Towards the end of the race, the drivers were having to really feather the throttle to get these cars around the corner. Now you add into a lot longer. We had a 20-minute race, now it's a 40 minutes to go and fight it out. I mean, the last thing you want to do is have a big heavy car with no tires, as now they've got to try and work around the 13, as it's a tough one out there, diving to the dirt, and not what Corey Anders wanted to have. Dinosaurs, well, I think that dinosaur is getting limped back to the Cretaceous period.
I think he was just going on the grass to see if he could do an excavation and just try and find some dinosaurs there. I think that's what was going on, but that was so unfortunate there for Corey. Having a small moment of Moss. We were expecting that to happen at some point sooner or later at Moss Corner, not the driver, at Moss Corner. Having a small moment out there as Nicholas started to actually lose a little bit of time here to Reese. Reese getting onto the back of this train all of a sudden, doing really well. And look at this train. Not having to work too much there with 20 laps to go. Even Jake William now really attacking on, trying to see if he can get a pass through Ryan's. I think Corey's had even more trouble out there as well. And I wonder if that's also with Ross. Ross is in the pits now. Yeah, Ross is done for the day. What has happened there? I think those two have had a small coming together here as William continues to attack. And now we get to see what Wyans can do, Stephen. No more drifting. He's got to race properly.
He's going to have to deal. Jake has been keeping the pressure on the inside line the whole time. That car a lot more put together through the corners, not sliding us around. Reese having to try and just pivot. And it also tells me in not only of how the car setup is done, but the car choices coming into play. But we do have a replay of that contact that landed up. Corey trying to keep it slow going, and Ross trying to make up a bit of ground. Did he land up going into the back? So Corey's into the dirt, clips a barrier, comes across Ross's nose. Big impact on both. Corey rolls over big into the wall and nearly having a third to join the party. But that is not what we like to see. But what we love to see, Jake William trying to fight it out. And I've got to say, a bit of retro colours out of there. But for anyone that's a bit more modern era, it's closer to the My Little Pony. But Jake William of Brundle Motorsport Sim Racing having a huge amount of fun, but needs to try and get ahead of that Pontiac.
I think he may do it here around the outside of turn 1. We'd love to see him do it, and yeah, he even got it done. I think he's got it done before the corner, but I'll have to try and fight this round the long way round at turn 1. And now Jake's going to have to do it against Wyans. And can he get this held down? They're still side by side. Over the hill they go. Down into Clayton Corner they go. An over-under. Something I never thought I'd be saying around Clayton Corner. Comes around here, but for Wyans, cannot get it done. Great move there by Jake William. Took him a little bit of time to get it done. But just because it took him time doesn't mean he didn't get it done, and that's what he would love to get now, try to push for the top 10. These three continue on, but look at this. I mean, this is not what they're expecting. Lap traffic as well, and that's really putting a spanner to the works, and that's not lap traffic, that's Bayer. Now, Bayer's lost time here because Reese was not ahead of him. So something's happened there to Bayer for Reese to get ahead and start to pull ahead by the looks of it.
Bayer's actually locking up that right front. So we saw it about 2 corners ago. He kept trying to get on the brakes as hard as possible, and that right front is definitely not happy. A little bit of a lockup coming from Nicholas as well, as he had to tramp on the brakes. And remember, these cars haven't got the fancy discs and carbon fiber all to fight it out. These are your old school drum brakes for most of the rears, and the drivers having to contend with that. So locking it up is not ideal because the whole steering just becomes a nightmare. But Nicholas is sliding that car around. Bayer is at extreme slip angles to try and move forward.
Right, let's see what happened to Bayer here, because like I said, Reese was ahead of him. And was it just an overtake into Moss, or is this going to be a move? I'll tell you what, if Reese made a move into Ross Corner, that's going to be really good. Around the outside here of turn 5, of Quebec Corner 3, sorry, down in. Already got that move done. And then you can see, I think this is where they started to lose time, because they started having a scrap, did Hilbrand and Bayer. I think that was why Reese, yeah, that's why Reese was able to get by. I thought there was an issue there with Bayer, but no, Reese was just able to get that gap. And look at him now. He's starting to gap. And Stephen, you know the old saying, cork in the champagne bottle. I think we found it.
Yeah, that is most certainly the case. And don't count out, you got Andrews and Kirstein chasing down behind. They have a little bit of an advantage here, just with a bit of clear air. You don't want to be directly on the bumper of the car ahead of you. You just want to have a little bit of breathing room just in case of a mistake, especially when you're relying on some heavy slip angle like these drivers are doing at the moment, really leaning into the corners, trying to get as much momentum. And take a look how much Martin Bayer is actually coasting into the corners, especially into the final 2, having to really feather the throttle on the way out into second gear. He's relying on a lot of that weight to just move him through the corner, just to keep the momentum. And immediately Nicholas comes back on the power earlier than Martin Bayer, who loses out that time by coasting.
Then the age-old question, what's faster, coasting or just using the brakes? And again, more tapping there. They got to look for a move around here at Quebec. Now, Nicholas is trying to find whatever line he can. And probably going to look that same line that Reese was trying to do as well. There is a small, I thought there was a door open there going down into turn 4, but Nicholas just can't find it. Still looking to see if he can find that move. The answer's no. And even more so, he looks for more. He almost goes onto the back there. And I think that's the next problem. If they just go a bit too much, they might end up hitting the rear of each other and going around. So you've got to be careful, has Hilbrand, not to push too hard on Bayer. But look at the straight line speed. And then, is that him lifting there, Stephen? I think Hilbrand didn't even decide to lift off there and not go for the move.
He's trying to give it a little bit of breathing room, but unfortunately it didn't work out. Both landing off circuit. Andrew says thank you very much. And once again, Nicholas coming back on, having to try and keep it together. And now Jake Williams has joined into the battle as he sees these two rejoin. That is not exactly how you want to have a race. He lifted off. Nicholas tried to give that little bit of room, and it ended up with Bayer and himself thrown off the circuit. Jake Williams now in for the fray and saying, right, you two got it wrong the first time. I'm going to come at you for the second time through. And he's brought Reese on the way through as well. Wayne's hoping to drift his way up towards a top 10. And not ideal circumstances, but well done to both drivers to recover it. Ultimately, this is going to be a nightmare run to try and pick up the pieces, and there's only one person to blame, yourself, for going off circuit. And now it's just cost them 2 positions in one fell swoop.
Yeah, William would love a top 10 right now. And you've got to feel that with everyone just falling over themselves, he might be able to get this top 10. Got Wyans right behind him as well. He might even just sneak into the top 10. Just don't know what they're able to do. So what can these drivers do on this lap? You saw Nicholas was trying to be a bit of an aggressor last time by. But this time, Hilbrand unable to be close enough to make the moves. And this is the big battle out there on the track. I know Niels and Jonok close to one another up ahead, but they are not. Oh, hello, that's Jay Walsh, who's just parked in the middle of the track, and I'm guessing he parked up to let people by. There's Bayer, and still Bayer. This is some real good defense here from Bayer. Just got the pace to stop them coming to him.
Now, Martin has got his elbows out of note, but take a look at the angle of attack into the corners. He is really hoping for those fine tires to grip. Unfortunately, not going to help out. Nicholas calmly on the way through, but under braking gets it a little bit squirmy. Martin attacking the curbs as well, jacking up that front end. Jake Williams trying to go around the outside. He's having to catch a tail from fishtailing everywhere. And really, this is a solid bit of run. Jake Williams has been dealing with Wyans putting pressure on him, but now just concentrating on keeping it all together. And I think maybe Martin has gone through his grip as a little bit of contact from Wyans into the back as a concertina.
Yeah, trying to push on and trying to look for that and hoping not to have concertinaing effects. But here comes Simonik still in this battle, and look who's joined Niels Jonok. It's Reese Gardner. What a drive up the field it's been by Reese today, and it's not Wire that he was expecting to try and catch up for P3, but he would love to get a P4 right here. Didn't have the best of times at Road America, and that's saying something with all the hardware issues and software issues he had. But now we would love to just try and get another move, but he's been through half of the top 10 to get to P6, sorry. Just needs to find a couple extra positions to go by, but maybe Reese not looking forward for that move. I think he realizes Jonok is trying to push on Niels, and Niels under pressure out of the corner. Meanwhile, he's got it. Jake Williams has got it, and Wyans almost goes around.
Unic going and piloting that beautiful Pontiac Firebird, trying to get going. And this is the early version of the Pontiac Firebird. If you want to go into a later, more, I would say, famous one, Smokey and the Bandit used the same type of car to go and run away, and old Smokey kept chasing the Pontiac through and through. And Simoniak is absolutely having a great time holding into the top 5. What it would be to capture a top 3 here at Mosport, especially with only 2 rounds left in the championship after this, to maximize points, to really say that I'll manage to get it done. Nicholas trying to get a solid run, outbraked himself, had to really get on the anchors, slid it through, not to go into the back of Andrews, who was just keeping it calm through the corner. Nicholas really had a little bit of a whoopsie moment, and thank heavens that he just used the width of the car to try and slow himself down.
That could have been a little bit dangerous. Could have had 2 cars in together, but holding it clear, holding it safe and steady. Talking to drivers, holding it steady. Yannick still looking to make that move as the headlights are on. And I wouldn't be surprised if he starts trying to see the flash buttons there, but it's the old stalk on the side of the car there. It's not a button, so I don't think he'll be able to reach that while driving these cars in hill towing and shifting down, but he wouldn't have seen there were moves to be had. He's going to try and do this into Moss corner. Couldn't make it. Reese Gardner now looking. And Reese backs out of that move. And now it is time for him to just look. What can he get done here? Pushing hard. Still, this Pontiac, this traction car even, it doesn't have the straight line speed. It doesn't have the slipstream. I'm surprised that we're not seeing this many overtakes on the start-finish straight.
Just focusing on keeping it together. And the more I've been listening to the engines, there's a lot of lift and coast from these drivers, and they're having to back off quite a bit before the corner. They're not having that drive in and out through the corners that they would like here at Mosport, but they're focusing on getting a clean exit out onto just moving up the order. They want to focus on a clean entry, a clean exit, and to maximize the drive. The tires are starting to fall off. It's lap 18 of 29. They're starting to feel that little bit of pressure. Yannick, however, trying to move up into fourth is good. Neil's just ahead of him, but just not finding the grip that he needs to really dive in for the apex, and that's now allowing Gardner to get right into the back of him. Reese Gardner hoping to just try and fight out. I mean, this is a tough race indeed. When you're in a three-way battle like this, you are not only worrying about your brake markers that definitely move, because now you've got some objects in the way, but you've also got these big heavy cars that have been getting lighter due to the tank now lightening up, but also the tires are starting to fall off a cliff. They're starting to overheat. As I said, these cars are well into 2 tons that you have to deal with. They are old school steel and metal. No carbon fiber, no fiberglass. This is all good old grab a 4-pound hammer if it goes wrong.
Yeah, talking about hammer, they almost came together there for a moment, and in fact, that is Nicholas going a bit too far, just joining a car, just randomly in that's an interesting one. Definitely hold it together, losing a lot of time. Nicholas has been in the wars this race, and that's saying something. Just not having the best of time. They're coming with Kirsten. I think they were just fighting for the same piece of tarmac. And unfortunately, what that means is not where he would like to go. They come on down the hill once again. The power just keeps hitting down. The weight just keeps hitting down. Still looking for overtaking points. And still looking in. Every time he looks for a different line, a different option here. Reese is saying, I would love to get a go here. And on board with the CUDA crew. The lovely Australian colours here. Trying to go by. I thought that was a little tap at the bumper there, and more taps at the bumper as Reese had to take evasive maneuvers. They're all just crawling over one another here. They're all just too close in the danger points, and then that means they spread out here as they come down to the Mario Andretti straightaway, and they can't do anything.
It's very much like in karting. If you're too close to the competitor with you, you've actually got to land up working with each other to try and close the gap. If you're too close, you're tripping over one another, you're costing each other time, and it's difficult, especially in sim racing, to just try and say, hey, listen, instead of fighting, let's rather work together. But now with 10 laps remaining, this is where the switch comes in for many of the drivers. You go from autopilot mode of just lap after lap after lap to suddenly, I've got 10 laps and I've got to win this race. I've got to put the hammer down. There's 2 ways of letting it go. You can either try and calm yourself down, refocus onto the race, and just try and maintain pace, or you're going to let that red mist come down. And much like endurance racing, this is where that red mist becomes thick and lands up, turning into critical errors, as we see Simonik going and opening the door. It's not the pit door, he's opening the entire double door to allow Gardner to try and put his nose through. These are very, very big vehicles, and Simonik once again just chucking the car in. Red mist coming in. He knows that he's running out of time, but at the same point of it, he's got to be careful that he doesn't go too far out trying to go for Niels.
Yeah, gonna have to push on. I wonder if he's just gonna attack. He's still not there. He's got the lights on constantly, and I wonder if he's just got his headlights switched on there. Maybe a little bit of a ploy. And I just now questioning any decisions, any attacks, and still nothing. Time is slipping away from them is the big thing. Not a lot of time left for them to make moves.
The problem is he has to make a move stick. You can't go and half the move. You can't really just try make a pass. You have to get it done. You have to sink the car in, get the pass done, and try and open up. These are the very, very difficult points of the race for many of the drivers, and you've got to try and figure out your best moves to move forward. And I think Simonik at this point has turned the lights on for a visibility point of view as he dives down the inside, of Niels. He gets it hooked in. Niels opens up wide, but take a look. Gardner trying to put the nose in as well. He's not completely out of it. Niels gets the straight line and is trying to fight it out. Nose to tail, and absolutely great stuff. So some phenomenal racing happening out on circuit. Nicholas Kirsten trying to move forward as well as a little bit of contact happening down the order. Andrews and Kirsten landing up bumper to bumper, fighting tooth and nail at the moment. Simonik trying to break away. He's in fourth. He will have to do everything he can to maintain. He has got some serious pressure on him as Gardner has been waiting for his opportunity. Swoops in and just catches the rear, but that allows Niels to try put his nose in, try to go back in for that top 5. He couldn't quite get it done. These drivers, right down to the wire, have to really push as hard as possible. It is now or never as they count down the laps. 22 out of 29. Simonik holds on to fourth, but only just. Gardner putting a lot of pressure on him, trying to see if he can move forward. Niels a little bit further back in sixth, who was originally leading out this train, lost out 2 places, and now Team Traxon trying to go and move forward. Simonik hoping that he can get a stellar drive at the moment. Reese Gardner hunting down for every opportunity to move forward. The Pontiac Firebird not having an easy time right now. And I've got to say, these old classics can keep you absolutely on the edge of your seats. As you can see, Gardner having to really fight with the rear of the car. Can't really get the drive in and out through the corners. It is absolutely mental. Throwing 2 and a bit tons worth of car, about 2.5 tons, and now trying to get past back marker. That's Adders, who was originally part of a huge accident. He's still going. He's still keeping that car going. He will not go and end off with a DNF. How he's keeping that car going, only one knows, and it's definitely going to be someone with a 4-pound hammer, a bunch of cable ties, and maybe that number 10 spanner that you've lost at. Oh, never mind, he's just gone hard into the wall in the background as we were keeping an eye on our 3. So not an easy time there. Will cause a yellow flag and needs a major repair. Corey, unfortunately, the dinosaurs now becoming extinct after that hard impact against the wall. 6 laps essentially left of this race. Reese Gardner hoping to get back into the top running. He's holding on to 5th. He wants to try and move up into 4th, but he has got a tough time to get past Simonik, and will need to try and get that pass done and dusted. You can see how wide he's going as well. Just not finding the grip of the car, going and sliding out, getting a lot of understeer coming into play as well, which is costing him time. And allowing Niels to slowly bring him back in as it's a monumental fight. Darren Andrews still fights out against Kirsten ahead of him, trying to see if he can dive down the inside of the Mustang. Couldn't quite get it done as they cut through the left-hander, now into the double right. This is a seriously hard corner to try and get right at the best of times, and these drivers having to overcome not only the cars taking a bit of strain, but they have taken a bit of strain. They're well into an hour's worth of racing in total time by the end of this race, and they have been fighting it out as they go. He's gone around the outside, but just couldn't quite get done. Nicholas Kirsten, who was in a monumental fight against Andrews, as we saw on the top right, continues his fight. So, I mean, this is just a tough race indeed. Everyone looking to one up. Jake Williams sliding out as he's trying to push forward and see if he can get in towards that top 9. Currently holding on to the top 10. He managed to get past Bayer, but now he needs to close down the distance. And so far, the cork in the bottle right now is Nicholas Kirsten, who holds on to 7th position. Andrews trying to power back. Jake running out very wide. Nicholas Hildebrand in 9th position, having an opportunity to sniff for that 8th place. Andrews has backed off a little bit. We did see a touch on the dirt from Kirsten, and Nicholas now looking around the outside. A little bit of a lockup coming in from Andrews. Tried to slow that car down, had to lock up the front. Gets a little bit unsteady. That fouled up Nicholas Hildebrand and also allowed Jake Williams to get right onto the back of him. Bayer not completely out of the run as yet, as he's starting to make up a bit of time, and Wayans as well. This is turning into a monumental charge And we might not be watching first, second, and third, but these drivers are fighting like it's the last of the World Championship, and they're fighting for that first position. Nicholas, once again, tried to get the drive early on the throttle, but just couldn't get the rear tires to bite to get past Andrews. Gets into the slipstream, trying to pull himself along and aiming to try go around the outside, running a little bit out of room. 5 laps to go, a little bit of a lockup coming in from Andrews as they break into the long right-hander. Down the gears you go, nice and gently. You don't want to lock up that rear diff and run into a world of trouble. Jake Williams also fishtailing around. He's trying to put his nose up on the inside of Nicholas Hildebrand, but just not able to get that run that he needs to go and move up through the order. Kirsten holds on. Yet another life saved at the moment. Out in the Ford Mustang, fighting against the Plymouths, fighting against the Pontiacs, trying everything he can to stay alive as he gets hunted down at this stage of the game and will be doing everything he can. Nicholas once again attacks the outside, tries to do the switchback. He's got the run. Can he make it stick though? Andrew stuck to the outside, gets a far better drive, and it's side by side as they go. You can't really change the gearing in these cars, and ultimately Nicholas didn't have enough grunt underneath him. Kusang gets caught behind a back marker as they all come piling on through, forcing our pull back marker off into the dirt, saying, listen, we got to get past you in a hurry at the moment. We haven't got enough time for friendly chit-chat. It's time to get it done and dusted. Jake Williams also doing everything he can to try and get back into the fray. A solid fight all the way through. Andrews hunts down Kusin to see if he can move forward. Nicholas Hildebrand has come from quite a different realm of racing. He's done single-seaters, he's done sports cars, and now loving it in the Trans Ams to fight it out. He wants to ensure he has a solid run at top 7 here. Locker, as he looked for the inside, he went and tried to take a stab at it. Ultimately, it didn't quite work. And now Nicholas trying to do everything he can. Darren Andrews once again tried to look for the pass. As we head up the road, it's Reese Gardner fighting against Simonik, and he has got Niels on the back of him. Niels trying everything to get past. It's not turning into an easy fight right now. Simonik just managing to hold on to that top 4. He has been keeping it constant, keeping it easy the whole way through. It's a side-by-side. Nicholas Hildebrand around the outside. Darren Andrews trying everything he can, but both of them got the drive on Kirsten ahead of him and trying to see if they can not only get past one another, but possibly go and mug the Mustang ahead of him. Late on the anchors, throwing it through. Nicholas managed to get the run, and now trying to put his nose forward, not having an easy time out there, and really did everything he could. Fighting past one of our back markers on the Pontiac Firebirds, minding out of the way. He's just trying to keep it all together. Reese Gardner trying to go around the outside of Simonik yet again. He's taken a few stabs at it. It hasn't quite worked, and that's allowed Niels to get in a little bit closer. Once again, solid fight up in 4th, 5th, and 6th position, but also 7th, 8th, 9th going and fighting it out for their top runs. I mean, this has been an absolute mad dash for everyone in the field. Grotte at the moment leading up by 4 seconds over Stalls, and Sudo Wire holds on to that 3rd place at the moment, but the fight for 4th is between 3 cars, 3 different manufacturers. Dodge, Pontiac, all going and having a bit of fun with a Plymouth chucked in to the middle. Absolutely wild racing on the way through. Everyone trying to get a solid run. Reese Gardner looked for the inside line, couldn't quite get that drive, had to wait it out a little bit more, feather the throttle through, but now it's time to push. It's time to get a solid run, and they also trying to get around all the back markers without that little bit of a slip up. It takes one moment that you take your eye off the prize. One moment you can't get on throttle quick enough and you'll lose out. Nicholas dives on the inside of Kirsten. He's got it done at the moment. Can he carry on the drive? Nicholas trying to keep his nose forward. He will have the advantage into the right-hander. Nicholas Kirsten, however, for the Lambda Looper Ltd team, holds on and will fall into 8th place. And now getting swallowed up. We have got battles up and down through the circuit. Reese Gardner trying to move forward. as we see Darren Andrews going on the attack with Jake William on the back of him. It doesn't matter where you look, from 4th all the way down to our 10th position, we have got battles. And even behind that, we've got Bayer finding out with Waynes. There's not enough cameras, there's not enough eyes around the circuit to see the fights going out and absolutely putting on a phenomenal show. Nicholas Kirsten trying to move up, has to really bite the bullet here as they're running out of time. Reese Gardner seeing that 4th place is within arm's reach, gets on the power too early, gets a little bit stepped up, and that's allowed Niels to come through. Niels puts his nose forward. Has he got the run? Swings around the outside. It is nose to tail on the way through. Who's the last of the late breakers? Niels tried his luck. Sentokowski not having an easy time out there, as we do see one gone and pulled off. A bit slow, our back markers coming into attack. Niels losing out a little bit of time out there. Not an easy run, but a phenomenal charge nonetheless. Everyone waiting to go and across the line, and this has been a proper workout for every single one of these competitors trying to keep it up. This is round 5 out of 7, and it's all crucial for the champion to make up as many points as possible, sliding their way out. Darren Andrews trying to put on a solid attack at the moment to see if he can move forward, really trying to bring it back. Late on the anchors and had to lock it up. He was nearly into the door of Nicholas Kirsten and will had to go and keep going as Mikhail Grade, who has so far been a dominating run this season, has gone once again to have a sterling run. 5.6 seconds in the Shelby Mustang, heading into 6 seconds. Mikhail has had a stellar charge, and what a time to be right here at Mosport. Clear air in front, clear air behind, and all he needs to do is take a nice ginger drive all the way to the line. 40 minutes of hard racing, a 20-minute sprint race they had to do beforehand, an hour's worth of racing, and plenty more hours worth of practice to eventually come across the line as the victor, to sit with a smile. Mikhail going and have a stellar run. 2 corners to go. 1, and Mikhail Grade comes across the line to win out the feature race. What a stellar run. Stolz will take up that 2nd. Simonik fighting out for his life at the moment in 4th place. It's not quite 3rd. That's going to be Sudawir who takes that 3rd place. But Simonik holding on just by a hair, by a whisker, flat on the power. He's doing everything he can, and then cross the line. Yernik Simonik takes 4th. Reese Gardner into 5th. Niels takes that 6th place. Nicholas Hildebrand finishes 7th with Nicholas Kirstein, Dan Andrews, Jake William, Mon Bayer managing to come across the line in 11th position with Wayans on the back of him, who tried to drift it out, and Casper Stolz going and celebrating with Mikhail, sliding it out. The 2 Ford Mustangs have once again been to the top, and Casper just going and shortening, trying to become a little bit of a Austin Mini Pseudo, who got that 3rd place. What a run for the Brabham Motorsport team. Going to be more than happy on a stellar race. And what a race it was here at Mosport. What an incredible drive by all our competitors. Doesn't matter if you're in the front, but also if you're at the back, just finishing is an incredible one. Nicholas getting a little bit out of shade there. Yuri Smith coming across the line in 18th position. A stellar drive on his part. Tungril Zingler having a stellar run as well. Just crossing the line here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park just to stay alive is absolutely incredible stuff. So our drivers had a phenomenal time out there. This is round 5 done and dusted and in the books. They look forward towards round 6 and 7. They're going to have the likes of Autodrome Oscar. That'll be the next one. Let's take a look at the results of the race. Mikhail Grade took the victory with 29 laps. He managed to open a 6-second gap to Casper Stolz in 2nd place. Sudawir holding on for 3rd. Yerne Simonik holds on to 4th with Reese Gardner in that top 5. Niels who holds on for 6th. Nicholas Hildebrand in 7th. 8th is Nicholas Kirstein ahead of Darren Andrews. Jake William rounding out the top 10 on the lead lap. A little bit further down, we've got Monbea, who fought out Riley Waynes to hold on to 11th and 12th. Austin Birchfield comes across in 13th ahead of Oliver Day. Nate Zero along with Chris Gordon. Simon Lepie along with Yuri Smith. Martin Jaspers and Tungrel Zengler, unfortunately, down a lap as well. We got a couple of DNFs that came through. Rachel Lebutnik, unfortunately, one of our Mustangs that did not come across the line. Chris Okoda, we saw into the wall. Unfortunately, he had to park it. Corey Anders, who managed to roll the car, keep going, and then hit the wall harder to go and eventually be extinct, will be in 23rd. 24th, Nikolai Bavanek, who was part of an earlier accident. David Denson, Jay Welsh in 26th, and rounding out our non-finishers, Ross McGregor, who unfortunately met his end up against Corey Anders. I mean, this has been a race and a half, and our drivers had to really think outside the box, but some phenomenal racing. Everyone having to push that a little bit harder in the feature race to stay at the top. And ultimately, it came down to who could keep a cool head under some difficult conditions. So, with that being said, let's have a chat to our drivers. Reese Gardner coming into the box. Reese,
first laps.
What a phenomenal drive out there. How are you feeling? I know you're having a chat to Nicholas Hilbrand on the incredible race you had, but how are you feeling that you're in a tussle for 90% of the race?
Yeah, 90% of both races, really. First off, it was, Nils was involved in both battles in the first half of the race, of race one. I just couldn't get past Cito. And I think it was the same case with Yone as well in race two. Like, both of them, they just knew where to put the car, where it counted. And, you know, if I had just nailed the exit of Moss a little bit more, I might have been able to get it done. But, you know, this track, as wonderful as it is, it's quite hard to pass. So most of the time it was just, you know, thinking about tyre preservation and looking for something to fight with at the end.
Well, looking at it, you didn't quite have the straight line, but coming into this race, knowing that it was a lot longer, knowing that you're going to have to try and keep the tires alive, what was the game plan from the start? Was it just try and get a good start, get into single file and see where you can go, and the battles we're lucky to have, or was it you want to push as hard as possible to remain in that top five?
It was sort of halfway between the two, because like the Cuda, I can't really speak to the other cars, but I'm sure it's the same across all of them. They're very rear limited. It's very easy to overheat the rear tires, so my prime focus was just looking after the rears, making sure that the rear end didn't swing out too much, because that would just boil the rubber and I wouldn't have any traction or any handling through the corners. So that was what I was focusing on first off. I think as most of the people around me were burning through their tires a bit more, that just allowed me to catch up, and then it was just a case of trying to find a way past, which, you know, to be honest, I really couldn't when it came to Yone.
With that being said, looking 2 rounds left. Next up, we head out to Argentina and then ending off at Kyalami in Midrand, South Africa. What's the game plan for you to try and punch your way up to the top and get that podium spot with the Cuda?
Well, coming into this race with no practice and doing my first laps with 45 minutes to go in the practice session worked out for me, so I might have to try that next round.
Fair enough. Before we let you go, Reese, anything you want to say to everyone in the back, to the drivers, to the teams, and most importantly, to everyone out in the virtual grandstands cheering on and getting to have the original Thunder series come at them in a virtual side?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks very much to HRSC for putting this series on. You know, I'd been begging for this series to come back for a while, and I'm so glad that it did. To my teammates at the Cuda crew, Darren and Martin, Matt Wright, who couldn't be here today, our unofficial extra member, Jake, Mr. GP Laps as well. He had an all right run of things today as well. And shout out to my Twitch chat, twitch.tv/Southpaw Racer.
There we go. Hello, Twitch. Hope you guys are well. And it's good to see they got an onboard for a phenomenal battle. Reese, well done on an incredible fight. And we look forward to seeing you out in Argentina and hopefully putting the Green Machine up into the top 3.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Reese Gardner having a stellar run. That being said, we have got Michiel Grade, who took the victory Mikhail, welcome to the commentary box. What a race. And first of all, 6 seconds away from your competitors. How on earth did you get this Mustang to work so well underneath you here in Canada?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a matter of keeping the tires in the right window, especially for the feature race. Stalls had a few slides early on, small mistakes, and then the tire just spikes in temperature, and then it's very hard to get them lower again. And it seems like we are like changing each round who's gonna win the feature race, and it's always down to who has the better tires, it seems.
Now, we saw on the start Casper keeping a solid bit of pressure onto the back of you. Were you concerned at the start of the race that possibly first place was not on the cards for you?
I was not concerned it was not on the cards, but I kind of knew it was gonna be like a 50-50 probably, that I'll have to fight for it and try to not cook my tires this time like I did at Road America and also some other rounds. But it was going to be an interesting race for sure. For in the start, our goal is always just to get a head start to the others and kind of get a little gap so we can just manage the battle for ourselves. Because one and two is always the goal for us.
That being said, you are 3 to Casper's 2 in the feature race, going to Argentina. Looking at 2 more rounds in the championship, what is your game plan to call yourself champion? I mean, this is where friendship is one thing, but winning the gold at the end of the season is the major plan here.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see how it goes. As I just said, the plan is just 1 and 2 for our team. But I will see how it goes. It's just down to tire management in the end, and I think we found a pretty good baseline for the Mustang. And if anyone wants to try it, hearing this, they can just DM me and I'll send it to them. But I think we found a pretty good baseline now, so the car is really nice to drive.
Found the secret sauce needed to bring the Shelby Mustang to the front. That being said, anything you would like to say to everyone behind the scenes, to the drivers, to the teams that you got to fight out with, and most importantly, to the fans coming out in the virtual grandstands to see you take the win here tonight in the feature race?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to all the competitors and the organizers to arrange the series. It's been good fun, and also thank you to the viewers for watching. It's a pleasure to drive here.
Absolutely wonderful stuff, Mikhail. Well done on that first place and a stellar drive to the top.
Thank you very much.
Found the perfect working base for the Ford Mustang. And talking about that, one person who finished up in second place and will be looking for a first next is Casper Stolz. Casper, welcome to the commentary box. What a race for you out there. A solid run at the first half of the race to try and push up against your teammate. How was it to get this car off the line and to be nose to tail for the first half of the race?
It was great, actually. I hadn't practiced at all, so coming onto the server half an hour before the qualifying started, I was 3.5 seconds off Mikkel's pace. So to get to second place is very, very nice. I'm very well happy with that. And in the sprint race, I could see that as long as I was in the slipstream and could preserve my tires, manage my tire wear, I was able to follow him. But then in the feature race on one of the earlier laps, I completely lost it in the second turn, in turn 2, and that cooked my tires. And from there on, I had a lot of issues trying to get the tire wear down or the temperature down. So I was just cooking my tires, and I was using a lot more tires than Mikkel was. So I knew from that point on the win was not on the cards.
With that being said, Canada now behind you, and Mikhail in the feature so far 3 to your 2, and in the sprint you guys are close. Not only is it a team championship, which we heard Mikhail talking about, but what is your game plan to try and take the victory heading into the next 2 rounds? First of all, July 25th, Argentina, a difficult run, a difficult circuit, and usually incredibly hot. And you're just talking about cooking the tires now. Head over to Argentina, well, you're going to be absolutely boiling them to pieces.
Yeah, well, Argentina is another track I don't really know. I really like in this series that we try different tracks that is not normally in use. But yeah, as you say, tire wear will be key. Past races have shown that tire wear or tire management is the alpha omega to be fast in the last part of the feature race. So yeah, hopefully a bit more practice and be a bit more sharp and see if I can go for the win in the end. But Mikkel is, yeah, he's just so fast, and it will be really difficult to beat him on pure pace. So I'll see if it's possible to do something. But in the end, all that matters is that we finish first and second, or that at least what we try to do, and then we'll take it from there.
Try and outwit the competition if you can't outpace them. Casper, before we let you go, anything you would like to say to all the drivers, the teams, and to the virtual grandstand coming and cheering on and seeing a monstrous Ford Mustang finishing a 1-2 and walking away with full points for the team?
Yeah, well, thank you to the organization, and then also a big thank you to the backmakers for being really kind in this race and quite aware, so it's very nice sportsmanship.
Absolutely great stuff. Casper, congratulations on the second place, and we look forward to seeing you at Argentina for the Autodrome Oscar Jean Galvez to fight it out on July 25th for round 6 of the HRSC Trans Am World Tour. An absolute great time, and next time you'll see us right here, 25th of July, 16:30 UTC, on what looks to be a simple circuit, much like the Mosport, but will land up catching you out. We head to Argentina, to Autodrome Oscar Jean Galvez, to fight it out for round 6, and will be our second last round of the Trans Am World Tour right here at HRSC. Incredible stuff. It has been a phenomenal time out here, and we look forward to some great racing. That being said, it's all things have to come to an end, and we have to say farewell. Massive thank you to Craig King, who was on the mic giving you the blow-by-blow shots, to Christian Deploy, our cameraman, going and giving us all the incredible action and having eyes on the back of his head. And most importantly, big thank you to HRSC, to the drivers, to the teams, and you do, the absolute petrol heads in the virtual grandstands. They keep us going time after time after time. If you want to go and keep an eye on even more action coming up, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, and if you want to come and join in with the historic racing, come and take a look at the HRSC down in the description. But folks, it's been an incredible time. My name is Stephen Kernick, and we would like to say, like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.